Hey y'all, today of course it's Matt Rogers, but I just hit record. I was like, let's just get going because it's a great friend of the show, Chris Franklin, my guy from NJ.com. We were just to jump right into it. Basically, we were talking about before the season started. I said 11-6. I thought the Eagles would be an 11-6 football team, win the NFC East, and then see what happens from there. But the Eagles timestamp this. They're 11-1, and they play this Sunday. They play a division rival. They play a division rival 2 of the next 3 weeks, and finish out the season that way. But Chris, off the top, I mean, what was your number before the season?
I had 11. I had 10 or 11. I think I had 10 or 11. And 11 was around that number there. I didn't believe the people were starting around going, oh, this team's an 8-9 win. I thought with AJ Brown they'd do better, but I didn't foresee this way. Them getting 11 wins with still, let's see, 5 games to go. I don't think I have it. I know some people go, oh, 17-0. Well, 16-0. I'm like, God, you guys, there's no way that's happening now. You're looking like, oh, 16 is on the table if they run it. I don't know, but yeah, it's crazy how this team is doing this season.
So I was going to ask you this later, but Jalen Hurts, last time he played a regular season game in New Jersey, it's not New York, but that's where they play. He had his worst career. Do you think that will fuel them to a better performance, or what are you thinking about that?
I think some of the guys that were on that team still remember that game very well. Now, granted, one of the major players in that loss is no longer here in Jalen Reagor with that drop near the end zone. But I think if you, when you look at Hurts, he tells you, man, that wasn't his best game when it comes there. And for him, if it was somebody else, I'd probably worry about thinking about, okay, he needs this motivation. For him, he's so even keeled that he was just going to treat this as if it's any other game. So, for maybe the lineman, because the fact that that's when he hurt his ankle, maybe the linemen are like, hey, you know what, we gotta step it up and avenge that loss from last season. They're already going to have their hands full because the Giants sort of have the highest, I believe, the highest blitz percentage. Yeah, they do have the highest blitz percentage in the league, 37.7, and the second most blitzes. So they're going to have to be on their P's and Q's offensively. But I think overall, I don't think any extra motivation. But deep down, some of those guys are still remember that very, very well.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's a big game, and I think it's kind of interesting. I think Sirianni and Hurts kind of balance each other out. Sirianni's a very excitable guy, kind of gets caught up in the moment, and he fits in well with the Philadelphia fan base. But then you got Jalen Hurts, who's just kind of stoic, and so it kind of balances each other out. I'm sure. In the building, Sirianni's probably talking to guys like, we're gonna do something this weekend.
He always seems to find a message. I thought it's like he always sees a way to find these guys motivated. I mean, whether it's when he started with the whole finding the high school pictures and what people were saying back when they were in high school to motivate them a couple of weeks ago, to the infamous flower root speech that he gave that resonated beyond that, which looking back, it was very true. But he'll have something in mind. I mean, I wouldn't be. Maybe he shows some clips of what happened the last time. Maybe he talks about adversity or division, or shows the Miracle in the Meadowlands clips over and over again. Maybe he does something like that just to get a little riled up. But I think for the approach this year is a little bit different because since they're in their position, they are 11-1. It's about basically doing what they do best, and maybe it's more close about them and not letting themselves beat themselves against this Giants team.
And it's also a division game. So if the Cowboys, what if the Cowboys, win out, and you're going to need that extra cushion or potentially a tiebreaker. These games still matter. These next 5 games definitely still matter. I don't think anybody should be. Even if they clinch, it's important to keep your team clicking and keep yourself spry. That's my opinion as we go into this home stretch here, this regular season.
Yeah, well, I think especially when you look at those last few opponents, especially you have to think they don't want to have anybody playing significant, I mean, anybody significance or major star, major contributor playing that final game is the Giants. Because if you do clinch the 1 seed, it gives you 2 weeks, gives you enough time to rest, get some guys back, still get your reps in practice and ready to go like that way. But especially with that Cowboys game looming, you could conceivably need you will need this division win, and trust me, that's going to be a long fall from being a 1 seed, potentially being a 5 seed on the road,
Oof.
having to go to like say Tampa or whoever wins the South, because that division is just a dumpster fire right now this year. But whoever does that will be a big gut punch to them as well too. So I don't foresee that happening, but they have to be prepared for that, and this is going to be a tough road. The rest of the schedule is no cakewalk at all.
Why you bring up the Saints, bring up the Bucks? Was that game more about the Saints or about the Bucks? If you had to say,
oh my gosh, they had everything. You had a chance. There's these things called timeouts that you could actually use. Yeah. And at first it was like, come on, like you could have ran the ball. You could have ran the ball, ran it downfield, so that Tom Brady is just sitting there, like on the side. You keep him on there. The fact that there's like, now we're just gonna do our thing and stop the clock for all of the best. It's just that's not. And I wonder if that's one of the reasons why Dennis Allen didn't get more looks as a potential head coach elsewhere because of decisions like that. Because I don't know what he was. For life, Tom Brady's on the other sideline. You don't give him time at all to even have a chance, and he shows what he can do again. It's just crazy.
Yeah, and they're now giving the Eagles a top 5 pick. To think about that, that's a big swing in terms of that boneheaded decision. It goes in totally in the Eagles' favor. People like people who are like really into it kind of watch that stuff and do the draft tracker. But what it is, I think it probably swung from like 12 to 5 because it's 5 now.
Yep, and with it potentially being basically a heavy quarterback at the top of the draft with Bryce Young and everybody else that's coming out, the Saints may have just potentially handed Will Anderson Jr. to the Eagles. I think there's going to be 3 quarterbacks that are going to be taken at that top area, and he was not then, maybe even 4, who knows? And then the Eagles still had that 32nd pick, so maybe they use that as ammo to go up to 3 and get Will Anderson that way. There's so many different combinations they have to add to an already deep team. So it's credit Howie Roseman on that one.
And if you have your franchise guy, Jalen Hurts isn't going to do the Aaron Rodgers thing. Jalen Hurts is going to mentor that guy, have him ready to go for 4 years. And you have 4 years. When you pick the guy, you got 4 years, and you might want to do something with it, but really make the QB factory. They said it before, but that was.
I'd stay clear of a QB in this. Like I like the guys. I'm not in love with any of them. I don't think any of them's like, hey, you know what? I'm putting my foot down. These are franchise guys. I mean, I like Bryce Young. He's my number one guy.
Okay.
But I'm still going defense because you're going to lose. You're going to have someone else. You have Javon. Just thinking just looking at my line. Brandon Graham, you don't know what's going on. Fletcher Cox is going to be a free agent. Javon Hargrave's a free agent.
Yes.
You look at the depth that they have at the edge positions. And there's so many questions. Derek Barnett, even when he comes back to his ACL, he's a free agent. Robert Quinn's a free agent. There's so many. They need an edge rusher, and they'll be in very, very good position to get the best one that's out there. Who knows? Maybe in corner.
And Bradbury, if you read between the lines of what he's saying to you guys when you guys are in there in the locker room, I think he's saying I want my money. That's what he said.
When he said other factors, besides winnings are very important. When you look at other factors that go into it, obviously I think because he deserved it. I mean, when you look at a guy who's gotten, I believe it's like he's only allowing 44% completion rate to his side. When he's in the 40s when it comes to quarterback rating as well too. He's playing very, very well, and he's going to warrant the big money. And we know how this team really believes about the shell. It starts with defensively, it starts with the line, and they go on to the cornerbacks and then see if he's in linebackers, which they have not. There's a free agents there too. But I look at that overall. I think the Eagles are going to want him. I don't know if I think some of these teams are just going to try to basically outbid them.
They're going to outbid them. It's like it's going to be a Christian Kirk situation. I mean, I've been very pleased with James Bradbury's performance. He's played almost, in terms of this, to be an Eagle for very long. He's played too well.
The hometown discount? No, and I mean Bradbury's 29 now. This is probably going to be his next. This may be his last one. So he's going to want his money to secure his future and for the future of his family and everything. So it's going to be a big number. And the Eagles got some decisions, and then a possible Jalen Hurts extension is going to factor into that too. That's going to be the first domino that's probably going to have to fall to know how much money you're going to have that one too.
Jalen Hurts, the inevitable Jalen Hurts deal. There's no conversation. There's a deal.
Yep. Howie's probably been talking to Nicole Lynn very much off and on, getting the temperature because and Jeffrey's probably Jeffrey will sign. He loves him. I mean, we've heard the reports that have been out there as well. He loves him. He loves what he brings to the team and intangibles, and he's playing like an MVP right now. You have a young guy who's an MVP who could be this one of the 5, I think, faces of this future of this league. He's going to earn his money.
So you brought up Robert Quinn earlier. He's headed to the IR, probably just to return for the playoff run, if that materializes, which it should most expect to materialize. What happened in practice? It was an ankle.
It was he had his something with knee, and it tweaked it as well. It tweaked it as well too. But I think something tells me he's been lingering around for a little bit as well too. Because when you look at the way his get off and his push lately in the last few weeks, personally, I thought at first it was just like he was fatigued because he did not have a bye. He did not have a bye week at all this year. Because the Bears had theirs earlier, Eagles got them. Eagles had their bye week already, and he was just playing straight through.
Okay.
And I think over time it started that wear and tear really started getting him, and then that knee issue flared up. I saw him in the locker room today. I talked to him briefly. He's not allowed to talk in specifics what is going on in the actual procedure, but when you can tell that way too, it seems like he has a sense of he will be back. Eventually, I wouldn't be surprised if he's back there. He's activated and he plays in that last Giants game just to get in the flow, get him ready before they shut him down again for if they get a bye week or just to have him ready for the postseason 1 or 2 seed. But he's disappointed. Obviously, he's disappointed when I was talking to him. But the man also had a brain tumor going through that one, so he puts it in perspective. He's disappointed, but he's like, you know what? I've gone through worse things before in the past. So if he gets back right and that finally clears his issues, they could certainly use that on a second rush line.
Wow. So they. It's just a juggernaut that they've built that this management team has put together. Still guys like you mentioned. It's remarkable. You have guys going down and guys are able to fill in. You got guys going down, guys able to fill in. And I was talking on the last episode about during the Titans game with Derrick Henry, in the way that Derrick Henry only was held under 40 yards. It was remarkable.
That was a shock. We were all shocked. In fact, Ryan Tannehill's your leading rusher with 34 yards. Like, okay, yeah, I'll take that any day of the week.
I don't think it's NFL football is not like college football. Like the college football coaches will run it up on you, and in the NFL, you're never really going to be that out of the game where you don't hand the ball to your best player by far. He has to go for 25 carries. I don't care if I'm out of the game, 21 down. You're gonna have to respect it. And it was a function of the Eagles shutting him down, but I think also the Tennessee Titans shut him down.
I think it's a little of that too. I look at what those defensive tackle, that rotation. That's why it was so key to get Linval Joseph and Dominican Sue as well too to help out with that. While you had Tui Pelotu and slowly Pelotu's out and not getting as effective up the middle. That's why I think it was important to do that because you help ensure your gap integrity. They didn't over pursue many times those gaps and leave those cutback lanes as well too. So basically, it forced the Titans to become one dimensional, which is something they are not with those receivers they have right now. Treylon Burks is good, but he still has a ways to go become a truly dynamic impact receiver in this league. And once he left, and he's decent, but once he left, they became one dimensional. They couldn't really do anything.
Robert Woods went and got his money.
Yeah, between him and Allen Robinson, I don't right now. I don't know what's going on with them. They just like, oh yeah, guys, we're still here, but yeah, we're not going to really do anything. But, I don't fault him because I thought he should have gotten some more money when he was with the Rams, but that's a whole other story. But
So before the season, you and I we talked about the tight ends, the strength of the tight end room, but it hasn't really materialized outside of Dallas Goddard. I mean, to me, at least what I've seen, is that a function of just you've got to get your three wide receivers looks and the way that the Eagles are running their offense, or is this these guys just not making the plays?
I think the Eagles won, especially when you added Brown and you know what Washington can give you in the slot and that pressure. I think they want to run a lot more 11 personnel in order to use that. And I think over time, especially when you lost Goddard, you had to find ways to make that production up. And Stoll wasn't primarily a pass catching option. But one thing I will say, Jason Michael, the tight ends coach, has done a very good job in helping him improve in that area because I look back last year and when he was running, when it comes to his route running, how smooth he was running his routes, and even when it comes to his hand position, he try to get his catch, it was a little off. But you can see the experience and the time he's taken to work on that has definitely helped him a lot. So much so now that when you look at the game plan the Eagles had last week, like the Titans were, even though they're man, they were going to try to keep. They were worried about everybody on the outside. He took advantage of the inside. His route, the way he was running his routes, the way he was cutting and set himself up to position himself to get open. I thought that was his. I think that was his best game I've seen from him in terms of being a receiver. When you look at Tyree Jackson, I'm shocked. I saw that. I know he was on that touchdown pass to Devonta Smith. He was out there as well too. It's almost you kind of want to see him. It's almost like a tell, almost in a way. You want to see one of these guys become really good at both things if it comes to receiving and blocking, so that way you can disguise a little bit more when Goddard comes back. And I'm looking at Stoll. I think right now he gives you your best option when Goddard comes back. If they decide to go 12, it's more balanced because Jackson still has to work with his blocking, same with Calcaterra. And they have a lot of young options to go with. I'm worried about who do you keep. You can't because I don't see him keeping 4 tight ends on his roster.
No.
Does somebody get a hammy injury? Cough, cough, wink, wink. Somebody get an ankle injury? Cough, cough, wink, wink. And you save them that way. But it's tough to keep on. And if I had to say anybody right now, I probably think Calcaterra is the odd man out, and you don't want to lose him because a young draft pick, and somebody's going to scoop him up. So.
But the plays just have not materialized with him.
Yeah. It's and you have to get to be on the field in this offense. You have to block. You have to block well enough so that way you can do that. And when he's in a 3 tight end set, he's basically the way he lines up is like, okay, just make sure you get in front of somebody. You're not going to be at the focal point. They usually run either those sneaks or those quick dives up the middle to try to get short yardage situations. That's fine with that. But we all know he's a really good route runner. I wouldn't mind seeing him in an H-back sometimes. I would love to see that if they want to get down to the goal line, put him like a look like a fullback and just try to create some stuff that way.
Okay.
But otherwise, I don't see when it comes to problem with that is he's not really effective as a blocker. I think he could be a really good H-back, but you need to block if you're H-back. So I just wish he just needs to improve. If he improves on that, I could see it being the best combo they've had since. Well, I'm not going to say Ertz and Goddard. I could see it like a Selleck and Ertz type deal. I won't say Ertz and Goddard together because those two were just. I think they just have a lot of talent, and I don't see Stoll and Goddard. No, I don't know. But I think if you could find a way for Stoll to continue his trajectory as a receiver and the way Goddard's playing, I think you can have that Selleck Ertz dynamic. Yes. I think that opens up even more your offensive playbook too.
Absolutely. So I wrote a piece. Speaking of Selleck, I wrote a piece about the 17 team, the 04 team, and this team. And I went position by position. It was way back before the season started. And I thought at that point, just on paper, I said at that time, on paper that this team definitely could be better than those teams. And now I've written another one. Now said basically with the way Jalen Hurts is playing, the team is bar none better, and he's playing better than Carson Wentz and McNabb did in those seasons. What do you think about that?
I think it's a deep. I just think overall it's just a deeper team than that 17 team, and I think when you look overall, I think both of them. I'll say that they're similar in that they both came out of nowhere seemingly to grab and take out that top spot in their conferences.
Yep.
But I just think when you look at the depth, I mean, when you look at the wide receiver position, I think
No
that helps out as
question.
a lot as well
No
too.
question.
And both quarterbacks took a leap. But I think overall, this team is just it's loaded. And I mean, the fact is, you can come back, you can have your quarterback set a record rushing one week against the Packers. You come back and have him throw 380 yards, and you can beat teams no matter what they do. You say you have a team that likes to play man to man, you have the wide receivers to beat them one on one if you need to, and you have a quarterback that can scramble. So if there's nothing down, there's nothing open downfield. You got the defensive backs turned and looking away. He makes one cut, he's going to pick up 20. Okay, you want to load up 8-9 in the box? Okay, you can still go ahead and you have receivers that can break that. You can even still run with 8-9. This team's proving they can still run with 8-9 if you try to stop the run. And then when you do that, if you want to play zone, that's the biggest bugaboo about against Hurts last year was, well, when you face zone coverage, he needs to read it quickly and get the ball quickly, which he didn't do. Now all of a sudden, he's doing that at a very, very effective rate. And if you want to keep those two deep safeties to try to protect those outside guys, they're just going to run it down your throats. This offense has so many different ways that they can beat you at. And I don't know if I'm Wink Martindale, if I'm any other defensive coordinator, I don't know how you stop it. I mean, you're not going to run zero blitz the whole entire time. Think, well, let's try. Hope he throws it up anytime, and you can't sit back. It's you have to play a good chess match. And credit to Sirianni for helping to come up with the game plan. Credit to Saints Dykes for the flow to play calls as well too. I think that's important because a lot of times we heard they use only screens and runs with this offense. Now all of a sudden you see them put up 380 yards now with all these deep shots and everything. So it's a lot of components that are working well for this offense.
The offense is playing this well without Dallas Goedert, and the defense is playing this well without Avonte Maddox. That no one really is talking about that, but that's okay because we'll just see if those guys are any good at football when they come back to play football.
And we talked to Avonte today too, and he's looking up. I remember seeing him. Yeah, he was last week. We were watching. We're not allowed to film, and I get why I say that's up. We're not allowed to film a lot of the injured guys that are out there because they're doing their thing. And I think, but I'm sitting there looking him right on the other field, and he's a lot smoother. I know hammies, or you don't want to push him back too soon because that can be even lasting. He's looking pretty smooth, and the fact that they have that open roster spot now, and they made all those things, placing Quinn on IR. Making some of those other things like Chase-Ray, leaving him. The fact that they have that open roster spot, I wouldn't be surprised if he's the one that is back and ready to go for this upcoming game.
And then Goddard is supposed to be back against the Bears. Next week.
And
so we'll see if they're any good at football. I have my binoculars on.
And you know what? That Maddox time. I'm glad if they do activate him this week, which I think they should, or even if they wait till next week, he just needs one full game to get back into game shape because they're really going to need him against that Cowboys down there on Christmas Eve because
that's right.
I don't care if you have Gallup or CD or whatever, to having a healthy Avonte Maddox in there to try to stop him and slow him down, I think it's going to be a long way to getting pressure on Dak.
Absolutely,
get pressure on Dak Prescott.
And Josiah Scott has played great. I mean, I'm not disappointed in how he's performed at all. But Avonte Maddox is Avonte Maddox. He's one of the best slot corners in football.
Yeah, and here's the thing too with Scott. The beauty of this, I mean, he's gotten all this playing time. He's got more experience. He's played some safety in the past. We saw him in training camp. He was playing some safety. So if you need, since Chase-Ray, Grant primarily is on special teams, but he could play corner and safety. But now that he's been waived, and we'll be surprised to see him back added on a practice squad or something like that. Or I hadn't checked their wire yet. I don't know if anybody picked him up. I don't think they did. But the fact that you can throw Scott back there as safety if you need to in certain schemes and certain packages, that's only going to help you as well too in the long run. That he's played a lot. Yep. Yeah, I think that's perfect. And that's a guy who's been playing well too. Yes. I'm shocked he's just fitting. It's like plug and play on both sides of the ball. It's like plug and play, and all of a sudden it's not missing a beat. It's crazy.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So let's go around the league potentially looking at other teams and other teams' players. Let's give some Week 14 award ceremony by Chris Franklin.
Let's go for the award.
Let's start at the bottom. Coach of the year.
I think it's I think you have to look at Nick Sirianni. I think Brian Dable deserves to be a second. If I think
Yep.
if the Giants get to 10 wins, it could be very close. I think you're going to hear a discussion of, well, the Eagles had a better roster, but Dable did more with what he was given.
Yep.
And that coaching job with that roster is
Yes.
pretty impressive.
It
That
is.
was just tough. But if the Eagles finish like,
much is.
yeah, it's like, look at that. Like, they don't have any wide receiver. They literally, like, you look at the wide receiver core, like, they're winning games with this group. Like,
That's right.
and like, considering injuries, they traded Kadarius Toney. Like, Dable deserves a lot of recognition for that. But I think when you look at Sirianni, especially if they finish like 15-2 or 16-1, it's hard not to give it. It's hard not to give it to Sirianni for that performance for a season.
If Dayball has to make the playoffs, he has to. So the 10 you can't be out on the outside looking in, and get the award. But 10 or 11, if he gets 10 or 11 and makes the playoffs, I can hear it. But it depends on what Sirianni does. If Sirianni gets to 16-1, no, he has to get the award.
Nobody, he better, because you look at, because the fact that he not only it's a tough time. We have all that talent. You got to manage it too when it comes to the behind the scenes stuff. Whether guys going, I wish I had more playing time.
Yeah.
You manage the injuries. When you look at just the injuries that this team has gone through over time, you miss a lot of key guys, and they're still rolling along. So I think he really deserves. I think he deserves some credit.
Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Whew. I'm trying to think. It's tough. I mean, Aiden Hutchinson, I think, is doing extremely well. I mean, look at the way he's made an impact for the Giants. Sorry, the Lions. And
yes,
I think I think when you look at the way he's able to drop back, I think he's doing well. But overall, for me, it's Sauce Gardner. He's a guy I wish the Eagles had when they had that high pick. When you started last year, when they had those 3 picks, I'm like, maybe Sauce Gardner was around like 8, 9. No. He deserved to be what you're taking that highly for. So I look at Sauce Gardner. I think he's the guy. I think with the Jets, you look at his future too. I think he's going to be the guy that winds up getting that. How about you?
I'm with you. That was my name. Yeah, absolutely.
You know who else is too? Tariq Woolen. And you know what?
Thibodeau has come on strong too. Thibodeau.
Thibodeau's going to go really good too. And Thibodeau's been really well. Now imagine this. What if I told you the Eagles were that close, like this close to getting Tariq Woolen? Because remember back in the 5th round when they picked them, the Eagles had those. They were about ready to pick, and then Seattle jumped them to take them. They were that close to having Woolen on that defense with them. And if you added him, and if they still signed Bradbury, they added Woolen and everything. Could you imagine that defensive secondary? That would have been. I mean, obviously they didn't get them, so that's why I traded back and got the 2 6-round picks, which you got Kyron Johnson and you got Grant Calcaterra out of them. But just imagine if they had him with that. That's just.
I was taking him over. With all respect to those gentlemen who were fine young men.
Yeah, I'm sitting there looking like, oh, you gotta be kidding me! Like, we're watching all and then you see him playing that well. I'm like, he's a talent, and he's gonna be a problem in this league for a while, very long while.
No question. Rookie of the Year, offensive Rookie of the Year, of course.
See, I would have thought Walker. I would go Walker, but right now the way he's playing right now, see, you know what? I'll put it this way: it should be Garrett Wilson of the Jets because of the way he's coming on strong, the way he's been the main target, that primary weapon lately. But something tells me because it's the Packers and he gets more notoriety with Aaron Rodgers right there, I think Christian Watson's going to somehow sneak in and steal it away. I really just feel.
I would feel bad for him if that happened.
Yeah, and Wilson deserves it. I mean, the fact that he's putting up the numbers now with Mike White, and he had to deal with. Just imagine if he had Mike White, a quarterback playing at Mike White's caliber this whole entire season, he's putting up big numbers, and I don't think it's in conversation. He would be the guy. But the fact that you had Zach Wilson, who I still to this day never understood what everybody saw. Everybody saw him.
That's right.
Out of BYU, it was like. It's like, well, he can move around, he's mobile, and he can get the ball quickly. It didn't make sense, especially having a guy going from BYU. It
was a microwave dinner pick. It was like, it's just here, it's safe. I know what I'm going to get. Like, I know who
No,
he is.
it's younger Baker Mayfield. That's all. Everybody kept
Yes,
saying Johnny Manziel. He's turned out to be Johnny Manziel without all the extra stuff. Well, mind you, keep
right.
anybody over 45. Somebody's mom's 45 or older. Maybe he's making a noise that way. But other than that,
That's not what you want. Yeah, the headlines to be. Some good play in that, maybe, whatever. But yeah.
yeah. Nah.
So, defensive player of the year.
Micah Parsons. I think you can't deny that the amount of pressure that he's been putting off the edge. You look at the way that teams you have to scheme just to stop him. You look at the ability to not only play in the first level, he can drop back into the second level and be an impact and be a good defender. But right now, I think Micah Parsons is the guy. I think that's a runaway personally on that.
He's the premier defensive player in the league who, if you're playing against his team, you're like, where is he at? It used to be like the guys like Jalen Ramsey, JJ Watt, TJ Watt, guys like that, but it's Micah Parsons right now. There's no question.
Yes. He's just that dynamic. When you look at the Giants, and I'm sorry to go back to the thing. You look at the Giants at that draft, you only had Devonta Smith taken there. Then you had Micah Parsons taken. Then you trade all the way back because you couldn't get anybody like that, and you're stuck with Kadarius Toney, who's no longer with that team anymore. Just to think of that trade, just looking back at that, the impact those guys are having, especially Parsons, because and I'll be honest, I was a little leery about him coming out. I still remember the stuff that was coming out from the accusations that came out from one of the former players at Penn State. I'm like, I don't know if I want this guy around here, but he's been nothing but a model citizen playing at a very high level. And now you look at this, like, he's the truth. And I'm trying not to be hot takey, but I think he's this current time, this span / generation's version of Lawrence Taylor. I'm not saying he's Lawrence Taylor himself, but he's this version of Lawrence Taylor.
And weird because I don't like the Dallas Cowboys, but I haven't really said it to not to be superstitious, but that I think everybody's kind of like thinking it and not saying
it. and just think about the matchups you could see potentially for the next few years. Him versus Mailata or him versus Lane Johnson going at it. It's just you look and you see this stuff and you're like, you watch it and like you appreciate Lane and Jordan a little bit more because he still gets his, but he doesn't basically take over a game when it comes to that. And the fact they made him play in space last time was great too. So, but man, Michael Parsons, man, it's tough to beat him. It's tough.
I just think people go. Since we're on the subject of Michael Parsons, and I just said that he should win Defensive Player of the Year. I don't like when people go too far and say, I heard on Monday Night Football, one of the broadcasts this year, that he could play every position on the field. That's just absurd.
I'm not
that's
putting
not
him at
true.
cornerback, no. But if they want to go ahead and run some defensive scheme where they put AJ Brown or Micah Parsons, go for it. Yeah, because all it takes is one thing. I can see right now he tries to chuckle or jam at the line. AJ Brown does a little shake. So please, I would love to see the Dallas Cowboys put AJ Brown out on the edge or something like that. I don't see him playing safety either. Middle linebacker, I can see any of the linebacker spots. Okay, I got it. Defensive tackle, I think is still a little light in there against some of the bigger guys, but I can see he'd be quicker to shoot the edge on a pass rush. I get that one.
For a player too.
Yeah.
For a player too, not 50 snaps. I'm sorry.
Yeah. He's gonna wear down. His body will wear down over time. So any defensive edges, linebackers, he can't play corner. No.
He would be getting cooked.
No, I just don't. No, because all I think is, okay, go on. Good luck.
Especially with a guy like AJ Brown, you're not going to jam him. He's yoked like a linebacker, like Nakobe Dean or somebody.
Yeah, or how about route technician like Devonta Smith? The only time I see those two going head to head is back when Devonta had his softball thing. That's it. That's the only time those two should ever be going head to head at anything when it came to a home run derby thing. That's it. Other than that, nah.
So MVP. You said Jalen was playing at an MVP level, but is he right now in the? If the award ceremony was tonight and you were the decision maker, no more football to be played.
Right. I'm probably doing it. I'm giving it to Hurts. And the only reason why I'm saying that is I look at the division he's playing in right now as well too. And if you asked me before the season if there was the two of them in the division, the AFC West is nowhere near as strong as it's been. So I think that Mahomes has beaten. He's the other one. I'm thinking like between two. I think Mahomes is taking advantage. I know you can't. You have to only play who's on your schedule. But I look at that West with the Broncos being such underachievers, the Raiders, and you look at the Chargers. Well, that Chargers defense is nothing to write home about. Then I look over at the East, and I look at that. Now I know you can say the same thing. Well, the Eagles have to play the AFC South. Yeah, true. But when you look at some of those defenses, they're actually a lot better than what you see out West, which is basically the Pac-12 out there. You can just run whatever you do. So I think when you look taking that into account, I know that Mahomes has more passing yards. Hurts has done more on the ground when it comes to his legs. And you look at the record as well too, 11-1. I think if you took him out and you had Gardner Minshew in the whole entire 17 game schedule, I don't think this team is 11-1. That's not knocking against Gardner Minshew, but I think that Hurts just adds to the whole new level of dynamic. And he's playing that well right now. So yeah, I'd have to give it to Hurts.
You couldn't have convinced me before the season that, like, if you just gave me like the blind test, like this was this team, these are the 1, 2, 3, 4 in these divisions, AFC West, NFC East, that the Eagles, Cowboys, Giants, Commanders would be this, and then because they looked loaded before that division, and it's kind of over in the West. And it's not, their record isn't, and the Chiefs aren't even the number 1 seed at the moment.
That's what's great about it. And even when you look at overall, I know people can throw in Josh Allen into that mix, but when you look at the way
I've
he's
seen
too many turnovers. Too many turnovers. He's careless with the ball. That's another thing. 20-3. You only throw 3 interceptions the whole entire year. Now watch, he throws like 3 against the Giants. But when you look at this game, he go 20 and you throw 20 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, I believe he has right now. When you look at that, you're like, he's taking care of the football. He's not turning the ball over. The offense is prolific. You're getting a lot of this team is just look at the offense. They can beat you through the air or the ground, whatever. You can barely defend them. And you look over the Chiefs. There's a book starting to be written about them a little bit now, sans Tyreek Hill, and teams starting to catch on a little bit. And then the Bills are just it's faltered at times when it comes to that. I gotta look right now. I had to talk myself into that a little bit because I was leaning on more Mahomes, but more and more sit and think about this as if it was done today. It pretty hurts when it comes to that.
Same. Well, Chris, what are you working on before Sunday? People be listening to this all the way up, of course, and maybe even after. But what do you got? What do you got cooking right now?
There is a story that comes on tomorrow about James Bradberry. I got to talk to an ESPN analyst who may have an affiliation with the Dallas Cowboys. I got his pick of who he says between the Eagles and the Cowboys, who he believes is the better team at the moment right now. I'll do the news, Steve. The answer may shock you. I hate those teasers. But that's what I got right now and preparing for the Giants game, with it's one of the 2 times of the year where at NJ.com where we actually get to our Giants team and the Eagles team basically has to all be together at the same game and start doing the coverage. So I'm working in conjunction with guys like Bob Brookover, who some of you guys may know from the Eagles, used to cover the Eagles with the Inquirer, Daryl Slater with up north as well too, and some other people as well too. So we're looking forward to that, and it's going to be a heck of a game.
Oh, yeah. Divisional games are always going to be good. Well, thank you all so much for listening. Of course, it's Matt Rogers, and you can follow me at POLITIDOPE. That's, if you want to hear all the different stuff going on, that's not a stick to sports kind of station. If you want a station that's just stick to sports, it's MENTIONPOD, mention pod, and it's honorable mention _podcast. Thank you all so much for listening. See you soon, Chris.
See you soon, man. Thanks for having me on, man.